At LSI, we don't just follow trends, we help shape the future. Welcome to Behind the Win, the podcast where we break down the biggest moves in tech, innovation, leadership, and government contracting. Here at LSI, we're bringing you exclusive conversations with the minds behind groundbreaking advancements, disruptive strategies, and industry-defining wins. From retail to tech, defense to government solutions. This is where you get the insights to stay ahead. Let's go behind the win.
Today, we're joined by Aaron Stark, CEO and president of 47G, Utah's Aerospace and Defense Association. Aaron has built 47G into a thriving ecosystem with over 100 members and 20 academic institutions, fueling Utah's emergence as a premier aerospace and defense hub. We'll explore his vision for aerospace innovation, Utah's unique role, and what it takes to train the next workforce. Aaron, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
To start off and just kind of frame this for our listeners, what is 47G all about, and what inspired you to lead its mission?
You know, it's an interesting story. I think in retrospect, all of us connect the dots of our career with more clarity than we do in the moment. I never thought I would be in aerospace and defense. I feel like I have a little bit of imposter syndrome. Didn't grow up in the industry. The closest thing I think that I ever did in affiliation with the industry was go to space camp as a kid, which was awesome. Ogden has a great space camp.
I love that.
I was the general manager of Franklin Covey's business in Asia. I was there 8 years. We lived in Tokyo. It was awesome. We sold the business, moved back. I took an opportunity at World Trade Center. My whole career has been international strategy and business, and so I felt like it was kind of a natural transition to move into a role where we could consult small mid-market companies on their international strategy.
Absolutely.
Loved the team, loved what I was doing, but there started to be a lot more conversations surfacing around aerospace and defense. Utah's got this incredible ecosystem, 100 years in the making, and so naturally, a lot of these companies are saying, well, who is the aerospace and defense industry organization? Who's developing industry? Who's helping companies grow and prosper? And so conversations around the governor's office and with industry, and I kind of heard that, and in my head, I just knew I can do that. There's something there. It needs to happen. I think it's a problem that can be solved, and so I jumped. And 47G we're both an industry association and an industry development organization. So on one side of the house, we represent 200 companies, every university and college in the state. It's awesome. We're helping founders access capital. We're helping them with business development. We're doing a lot of the promotion, advocacy work. We've got a great team focused on that aspect of the organization. The other side is focused more on long-term economic development. And so how do we bring an operable air mobility ecosystem to Utah ahead of the 2034 Olympics? Like, how do we move people and allow them to see the games from an air taxi? So that's one initiative. The second that we're now proud to be participating in is the Utah Spaceport Exploration Committee.
Yeah, tell me what that is.
Well, it's interesting. You know, we started building solid rocket motors in the 40s here in Utah. Then that kind of spurred into solid rocket motor propellant, and then the advent of Hill Air Force Base brought more research and development. And we're not strangers to space. It's very familiar to us as an industry, and seeing where the puck is going, we want to skate in that direction, and it's space. Radar, sensors, satellites, IoT, communication, it's all happening now with space. Interesting statistic, in the 70s, there was less than 60 satellites in space. Now there's over 6,000 satellites in space. And so as we become more familiar and capable with space, naturally states are gravitating toward that and wondering, how do we participate in the space economy? And so this committee is leading an effort to explore both the viability and the potential of having a spaceport here to launch and recover missions from outer space. And so, we just had our inaugural meeting. It went really well, and so more to come on that. But yeah, I think there's a future in space for us.
That's amazing. And what is crazy to me is that, 47G is what, 3 years? 3 or 4 now. 3 years. But we have the biggest employer in Utah's Hill Air Force Base. We have, couple different Army, National Guard. So it's crazy to me that just now this is happening when it's been such a big part of Utah's landscape.
Well, and I mean, we didn't build the ecosystem at 47G. I think we just provided some structure and organization to it.
Absolutely.
LSI, to be honest, is probably unlike any other organization in the state, done more for the industry and its companies and its infrastructure. I mean, we kind of stand on your shoulders, and now we are favored to stand with you in helping this industry grow.
Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. You're a first generation college grad
Yeah.
from Utah.
Yep.
Okay, with an MBA from Duke,
Mhm.
and leadership experience we just discussed. It's across global roles. How has your background shaped the way you approach leading 47G?
I'd have to think about that. It's really interesting. My parents, between the two of them, there's one high school degree. My mom grew up in Los Angeles. My dad was LAPD. Met my mom at a traffic accident on Hollywood Boulevard. She was a single mom. And that's where the Starks saga started. And they moved back to Utah, and I was born in Clearfield, moved up to Huntsville, grew up in Ogden Valley. We are first generation, all of us kids, college students, and
That's
um,
amazing.
yeah, we never thought about that. I think the term first generation college student started to become a thing, maybe 15 years ago. I always felt like because I lived in Utah, I could do anything. I think that's just the social,
Yep.
all the social capital that exists here in the state. It's so rich. And so, I met you when you were at Zions Bank. I started my career at Zions Bank. Scott Anderson hired me. I went to the corporate credit program. Um, it's been a remarkable journey, and I was lucky they let me into Duke University. It was experience of a lifetime. And the blessing of that experience was not the degree. I realized it was taking my kids to Duke University and hearing my then 8-year-old son, 7-year-old son say, when I grow up, I want to go to Duke University. So the socialization
Yep.
aspect of that was pretty phenomenal. I mean, the goal of every generation, right, is just to move the ball a little further upfield, and so I'm doing my best to do that. Now my kids will approach life with different expectations, and that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, give them some culture, right? And they've
Yeah.
lived, overseas, and I think that that's amazing. And I also think like the first generation, I am too in my family, and I feel like when we were doing a post for LinkedIn on it or something with my team, and they were like, "Well, do you think that's a dig or an insult?" I'm like, "It's not an insult. My parents may not have gone to college, but there was no way in hell they were going to let me not go, right?
Right.
That it wasn't
Good
an
for them.
option."
Good for
So
them, and good for
yeah.
you.
Let's talk about let's talk about some future tech. So
Okay.
47G recently launched Project Alta,
Uh-huh.
to build an electric aircraft ecosystem in Utah. What role do AI and automation play in that vision?
Yeah, it's interesting. We live in a different era now, where technology is able to do more, and we're able to fill gaps of understanding with algorithms. So it's fascinating to watch all of this come together. Advanced air mobility is kind of a newer term. The general public doesn't know what that means yet. But essentially, we're creating a mass transportation and transit system, um, utilizing all electric or hybrid aircraft. And so I left World Trade and I founded 47G, but I simultaneously took on a role with Fordham Technologies. They develop a ground-based radar system that works with an autonomous drone, and it secures airspace above critical infrastructure. So think about like Gillette Stadium, where the Patriots play. Right now, the way the laws in this country work are such that if a rogue drone were to fly in to the airspace above a stadium during a game, local police departments can't remove that drone. It's not within their jurisdiction. It has to be the FBI or the FAA, a federal entity.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. The Padres game was interrupted 3 years ago. There's the middle of the playoffs. Drone flies in, hovers 45 feet above the left fielder. Then the game's put on ice for 40 minutes. I mean, it's like, and nobody could remove it. Finally, it kind of left, but we don't know who owned that drone, who operated it, what its intentions were. So I went to work for this company that had developed this drone that would, in partnership with a radar system, analyze the airspace. Once it detected movement, it would deploy a drone autonomously, utilizing AI and an NVIDIA chip. And so it would go place itself, fly out, place itself within close enough proximity to where it could launch a net, a Kevlar net, and intercept the drone with 95% accuracy. So it would essentially capture this drone and then tow it away, remove
And
it
that's
safely.
okay. That's legal.
Well, it hasn't been,
Okay.
but it's starting to change. It's legal in other countries. So they started selling this in Qatar. They got the Tokyo Olympics bid in 2020. And so the US is finally catching up saying, we've got to do more. And the current administration's all in. So to answer your question, AI is behind technology like that now. And when we think about advanced air mobility, detect and avoid systems, the ability for technology to operate efficiently and safely and autonomously, it's all going to happen with AI making decisions so it doesn't crash into other air taxis, etc. So it's really fun to watch AI take off and what that allows us to now do. But it's also awesome to see what the AI is allowing us to do to secure technologies like that too, because with all the data, you've got to secure the network that they fly on. And so we're learning as we go.
I love it. And we talk so much on this podcast with people and about AI and all of it, with the miseducation that people have, right? They think it's going to put them out of jobs. Something like that to me isn't. No, we're not putting anyone out of a job. We're we're removing human error and letting it, like you said, secure the airspace, right?
Yep.
And so it's enhancing what somebody does today.
Absolutely.
In your view, how is advanced defense technology and AI specifically reshaping how aerospace companies innovate and compete?
I went to Ukraine. This would have been 2022, 23. Man, it was an awesome, awesome experience, Sarah. What I learned about being in a wartime environment, like what I walked away from that experience learning, I should say, is that we're fighting differently.
Yep.
Like we aren't deploying 1,000 troops into a country and then fighting at a border anymore. Like those days are done. We are fighting with first person view drones from countries. So I mean from foreign countries. So I mean it is amazing. You take on one of the world's largest superpowers in Russia with drone technology. Like it's changed everything. What the battle environment has allowed companies to do is accelerate innovation because you now have a wartime environment to go test things in simultaneously, so you can develop and test. It's not theoretical anymore. And so AI is driving a lot of this, and it's accelerating our ability to code, to develop software, and you take the F-35, our backyard has a lot of them in it right here,
Yep.
right? There's 4 billion lines of code in an F-35. And the software engineering group at Hill Air Force Base is, able to integrate AI and other software into the F-35 and provide an update a software update that will install in real time when the F-35 is in Boston and then in Utah. So you could write the code and install it all in real time. That's amazing.
Yep.
And so everything has changed.
Absolutely. And what's crazy to me too is that going back to when you said like at Fordham is we saw him at the Paris Air Show 2 years ago. We got to see the net, like you
Oh,
get
cool.
to see that.
Yeah.
And it's sad because, and not sad because this is what you and other people are trying to change, right? Is that the US, because of all of our policies, procedures, regulations, we are getting slower to it, right? You just said you have China, you have all these places that have employed them to do that. And so we've got to catch up with them. Absolutely.
Yep.
Utah now supports more than 1,000 aerospace, defense, and cyber companies. Why is the Beehive State punching above its weight, in your opinion?
Before I even drill down on industry, I think more broadly speaking, there have been a few factors that have led to our growth. Just good governance being one of them. It's been a foundation for the growth to take place. Historically, the state has done a great job with public-private partnerships.
Absolutely.
Partnering with industry, allowing industry to lead out, and then writing legislation that empowers industry. We've always adopted that model. It's worked. We now have an environment where we're among the fastest growing states in the country, have been for many years. You think about adding the city of Logan every year for almost 30 years. I mean, that's how our population has essentially grown, that same pattern. So a lot of great factors, well-educated, young workforce. We speak 138 languages, more languages per capita than anyone in the country. So the NSA naturally says, oh, all of these return missionaries, all of this diversity of language is really good for virtual missions that can be conducted at the facilities down here. It's just, I mean, it's wonderful. And typically generally speaking, we're pretty honest, good people here. We aspire to be. And so when you talk about background checks and clearances and things, we punch above our weight in that category really well. But then we lead the nation in SBA lending per capita.
Yep.
I mean, you think about this, and you know this better than I do, with all of your experience in baking, but 330,000 small businesses. Um, Entrepreneurship is the lifeblood of this economy. We don't have Fortune 100 companies headquartered here, and frankly, I'm grateful for that.
Yep.
Because it creates this environment where you get scrappy entrepreneurs developing technology that then allows them to bring in capital and grow the economy in really interesting ways. I mean, Silicon Slopes, 20 years we rode this enterprise software wave. Incredible job branding the state. It brought a lot of investment here. There's a lot of venture capital with a thesis and domain expertise for software as a service. Now, I think the next 20 years are going to be of this economy are going to be shaped by aerospace and defense, unlike any other industry. And if you don't believe me, just look at what the administration is doing. Right, executive orders, everything is prioritizing dual use technology here, and it's great. We have 600 companies in the state with a defense contract. It's 20% of our economy. Like, let's go. Right.
Yep.
So
Amazing.
yeah.
With investments in AI, semiconductors, and deep tech like Unicos, and your partnership with the University of Utah's engineering department, how is Utah positioning itself as a global frontier?
Frontier is a really interesting word. And in fact, one we've used intentionally because we want to be the premier destination for aerospace and defense companies in the United States. We have the fastest growing aerospace and defense ecosystem in the country. Think about that. We added more jobs than any other state in this category last year and the year before. So things are moving. We couldn't do this without the partnership of universities. University of Utah is making great strides. Weber State's making great strides. Utah Tech has a growing CubeSat program. And then obviously Utah State University and others. So everyone is bought in and prioritizing the development of this industry. And that's great because in partnership with our academic institutions, we can move the needle on workforce development, on supply chain and logistics, on research and development. The University of Utah in particular is an R1 institution. And they just created the Aerospace Hubs program and hired one of the former chief engineers from NASA to help run that. So it's a good demand signal that we're seeing. The industry requires more. The University of Utah and others are responding. And what that does is it allows us to bring in more investment to the state.
Absolutely. As chair of the Aerospace and Defense Association rebrand, you emphasize talent as your top audience. What workforce challenges are you hearing most about from your members or the industry, and how are you addressing them?
This is actually going to surprise listeners, I think. I think generally speaking, there's a workforce shortage in every industry here.
Absolutely.
Right? Lowest unemployment rate in the country, 2.5 or 6%. So we're fully employed. The economy's running hot. That's great. I'm not convinced that there's not talent available though, especially for our industry. When we rebranded, the beauty of that process was not a new logo or a new name. The beauty of the process and the fruits that it yielded to us was an understanding as to who our core audiences are. And we learned that first and foremost, workforce was the number one audience we had to focus on because aerospace, defense, space, energy, the hard tech areas that we work in are intimidating to the general public. The NSA is, it's encroachment on my privacy, drones flying above my home. It's literal rocket science. It's interesting. We interview lawmakers, business advocates, community leaders, etc. And we learn that people understand this industry is really important, but they're intimidated by it.
Yep. Or uneducated too, a little bit, right?
Totally uneducated. Yep. So the data continues to show us that Weber County, Jordan School District, Canyons, etc., there's actually a lot of aptitude amongst the students, but there's a lack of information about what the industry actually entails and how they could grow their careers. I tell you what, there is not a more sustainable and stable industry in the world, especially here in the state, than aerospace and defense. It's tied to defense contracts. It's sustainable. When Silicon Valley Bank collapses, 5,000 people lose their job because it's all built on speculative markets. Venture capital that's gone into huge high-risk companies building SaaS. And we need the SaaS, but you don't get the turnovers. You don't get those same swings in employment with aerospace and defense.
Absolutely. And our team was at Tinker and the Primes last month. We
Oh,
have
awesome.
bids that we're going
That's
after and
great.
work we've done that, it's not only Hill, it's Tinker and Warner. And what they say too with the workforce, and it's crazy to me, is like by 2032, they'll only have 60% of the engineering and the jobs that they're going to need, right, in aerospace and defense. And if we don't start doing, all these associations, whoever, start doing something about it. And that's insane to me, because I think you have all these kids that don't know what they want to be. And like you said, they don't have the information to understand what the options are out there.
Yeah.
Looking ahead, what emerging trends and regulations, technology, or talent are shaping the next 5 years in aerospace and defense?
Space has got to be foremost amongst anything that I could possibly say. Space is fascinating. It is the final frontier.
Yep.
We're starting to democratize space in new ways. People like you and I, in 10, 15 years from now, will be able to pay for a ticket and go, suborbital and see the world from a new perspective. I think that's awesome. Work with a company who has a contract with Blue Origin, and they've purchased a small amount of real estate on all of the rockets going in out of orbit into space. They use that real estate on the rocket. They put MJs, they put art, they put all kinds of things, and they come back and sell it for 3 and 4 times the price because
Really?
it's been in space.
Oh,
I mean, it's mind-boggling to see what's happening, but space is important from a national security perspective, right? Our ability to survey what's happening around the world and understand what people are doing. It's all going to come from space. I went on a camp out this summer, and it was awesome to hook up to Starlink, and be in the mountains.
Yep.
And I mean, it improved the experience. It's as sad as that is. Actually, I'd love to disconnect completely,
Sure.
but man,
not
it's
real
really
life.
nice.
Yeah.
Exactly. So space is there.
For leaders listening today, what are the first steps a business should take if they want to engage in aerospace and defense in Utah?
Come 47G. Absolutely. The value proposition we offer is this. We make sense of the ecosystem here in Utah. And so when a company approaches us and they say, we need to raise 5 million for a seed round or a Series A, we've got a network of private equity firms, family offices, and venture capital organizations with very likely deep domain expertise in what they're doing. Avionics, bending metal, you name it. If a company says, hey, we need to hire 300 engineers, well, every university in the college in the state is an investor in 47G. Let us make some introductions. Let us work with the state of Utah. Let's put a plan in place custom tailored to your organization. Hey, I need to develop more revenue. I need to win more government contracts. Well, we're going to bring in LSI. We're going to sit down and we're going to have a conversation. We're going to develop a tailor-made plan for your company. And we'll go a step further. We'll do the advocacy in Washington, D.C. We'll go and sit down in meetings with you and with prospective buyers or contracting officers. Like, come to 47G. That's why we exist. That's why we partner with the state. That's why we partner with LSI. The state needed a window, and we are the window into this industry. So let us do some sense making for you.
Yep. And I mean, I explained to you guys when we tell anyone, why they should join too, is you guys are similar to a chamber, but on roids for our aerospace and defense industry, right? Yeah. And you guys do a great job of the introductions. You've helped us in introductions, not just as a partner, but as a member of 47G. And there's lots that you've reached out to me, and I think your team doesn't have a problem reaching out to whoever it is at whatever level to say, hey, these guys need help. And so I think, for sure, if they're starting out, come and just see what it's about and network. The networking alone is, phenomenal. So,
well, and I would just say this too. If you're an entrepreneur in aerospace, you quickly realize that it's a team sport.
Yep.
Like it is very hard to be successful in this industry without relationships. And so that's how we feel, is we just kind of approach every company as a team, and that multiplies our offerings significantly.
Absolutely. What do you tell companies looking to invest here? What foundational elements are non-negotiable in this industry?
You know, we've done a lot of corporate recruitment the past year, and companies are saying the same things about Utah. Vibrant workforce, fast growing, um, and companies want to capitalize on that momentum and growth. Great partnership and proximity to our university higher education system. Utah is still small enough. I always tell people Utah is kind of like how California was 75 years ago, right? At one point, California could wrap its arms around the economy. There was somebody that did international trade. There was somebody that did economic development, et cetera, and they all kind of worked together. LA County grew. There's 20 million people in LA County, right? And then you had San Diego, and then you had Oakland, and everything kind of took off. And now there's no facilitation of economic development taking place in California. We still have the luxury of being together, and that's a cool environment to operate in. And so when a company comes and gets established here, market research, site selection, raising capital, being on industry committees, getting to know buyers, partners, investors can all happen just like that. You're plugged in and you can be successful immediately.
Absolutely. And part of that too is, the red tape. And I think our government's done a great job of that, where they try to eliminate. And it's, when you look at it, it's like you said, working for a Fortune 100 or a smaller company where we can see the needle move,
Yeah.
and that red tape isn't holding us back.
Right.
So
Yeah.
last thing is, let's plug the summit a little bit before we wrap up.
That'd
So
be
tell
great.
everyone a little bit about the summit that's coming up and what they can expect, and if they want to get involved from a business standpoint too, with sponsorship,
Yeah.
etc.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm really excited about this year's summit. It's gonna be really fantastic.
Which everyone should know, it's gone from crazy. First day last year was one day, really, and it was packed. I mean, took over Gateway. So, but then this year now it's 2 days, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 days. Yeah, last year about 800 people. We were trying to keep it to 500. Brought in DoD leadership, OSC, DIU were all there, and then you had a lot of the OEMs. Awesome. This year we said, well, maybe we should scale it a little bit. So it'll be at the Salt Palace, November 4th and 5th. There's a series of dinners and lunches that will take place, throughout the 2-day experience. I'm excited because we expect 3,000 there this year. First day is going to be focused on defense technology and space. And so we've got the CEO of Varda Space coming to speak. We've got Wendy Williams, who's over propulsion systems at Northrop. We've got even bigger names that we'll be announcing in the coming weeks.
Amazing.
Some really big names, some fun names coming.
And where can people go? Website? Is it just the 47G website, or where can they go to find out more information?
You can actually just go to zerogravity.com.
Okay.
That's the name of the conference, Zero Gravity, or 47g.org. And a member of the team will get in touch with you. But tickets are now on sale. We've got sponsorships going. We'll have 150 companies exhibiting. We've got 120,000 square feet of space at the
We signed up
Salt
last
Palace.
week for exhibiting.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, awesome.
Yep, we're
That's
good.
great.
Yep.
That's great. So, anyways.
Okay, amazing. And I did want to give you another kudos that I forgot about this too, is when we were at Tinker last week, we typically sign up for the organizations in those areas too, and they have Oklahoma Defense Association. And the gal we sat down with was awesome. And
Good.
she said, "You're from Utah. Do you guys know 47G?" And we said, "Yes, we do. We do lots of work
Really?
with them."
Oh, that's
and she's
cool.
like, "Oh, they're like the echelon that we every day my people are like, hey, can you guys do this like them? Can you do this like them?"
That's
So I
cool.
think that's very cool that other organizations that have been around like this one for 18 years are noticing for sure.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. Thank you.
Aaron, thanks for your time and insights today. Your work at 47G proves that Utah is not just a location, but a platform for innovation, talent, and long-term industry impact. So thanks for being on.
I appreciate it. Thank you.